All right, so we'll call this meeting to order right now. Mike, I'm seeing the B on there is oath of office. Is that something that's just a carryover from the previous?
Yep. Disregard that.
We can disregard that. All right, so we'll move to roll call. We've got all of our 5 counselors present. We have Andrea Orist, who's on the agenda for the Safe Routes to School bike-friendly community conversation. Mike Roth, Kim Dunsmore, Patrick Knight from the city, and Chris Hood, city attorney. So that is our roll call, and we will move on to open forum. Does anyone have any open forum discussions or anything that was sent to you to read?
Did anybody get the letter from the Snowmobile Club?
I don't think I saw that.
I've got it. I got one.
I don't think I got anything. They might have my email address, but people don't understand the underscore in between my first and last name.
Oh, nope, I got it. That was sent 7 hours ago. Yeah, so I did not keep up with that for today. So
I would, if we don't address it in the open forum, I guess I would just like to, when we go to the agenda, I'd like to just tag that on somewhere if we could.
I think that I was planning on having a conversation about that at the end of the agenda. So I'm fine with adding that to the agenda. If that we'll get there in a second.
Can somebody forward it to my email so I could read it?
I'll do it right now, Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could use that as well.
Okay.
Do you have Michael's email address, Anton?
I'll look.
I think I have it. It's one of those things that's both kind of awesome and also like not awesome about doing. Okay, Michael, I'm going to send it to you right here. And then you can, hopefully it'll show up. All right, cool. So I think we got that taken care of. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda, and that will have that has the typical 3 items approving this agenda. It sounds like we're going to be adding an item on the agenda after board appointments and previous meeting minutes and the payment of bills. Does anybody have anything anything to change about the consent agenda or a motion to approve with that amendment to the agenda?
I've got a couple questions on well, I guess either open forum or injected into the approving the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay.
I received a few emails and considerable personal people coming up to me and commenting on the last meeting, the reading of the oath of office. And I was just wondering what if that was going to be reread correctly? That's what people are asking me.
That might be something that we can turn to Chris for the legality of that. My understanding is that as long as the oath of office is read in its entirety, then it's binding. But maybe you can speak a little bit more to that, Chris.
And I'm perfectly fine reading it again if that would make people happy.
Mayor and Council, it would be unnecessary to do that. Councilor Gary did take the oath, and so it isn't something that needs to be done again. From a legal standpoint, if you take the oath and you basically sign an affidavit of office, that's what it takes to be a council person, and that's sufficient under the law.
So there's that part of it. I also just as speaking as as the mayor here, there are statements that can be made to clarify the service to the community. Mr. Gary has issued a formal apology to the council and to the public. I guess I would leave it up to you, Michael, if you want to do it or not. You know, to reread it if you feel like that's necessary. Otherwise, I would encourage the council to continue to move forward with the work of the city. So, so what do we think about that?
I mean, if people would indulge me, I'd be fine just reading it again, if that's okay.
All right. Well, I mean, that's your call. You can certainly do that as a statement.
Okay.
Mr. Hood has made it clear that that's not a legal obligation that you have. So,
Okay. So I'll just do that now then, or does this get put into the agenda?
you can do that now. I believe that we can just nail that down, then we can move on.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so I, Mike Gary, under penalties of law, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and will faithfully discharge the duties of counselor for the City of Grand Marais to the best of my knowledge, judgment, and ability.
All right. Thank you for that. Okay.
All right, thank you for that.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. And let's put the conversation about the snowmobile trail. Let's put that on between F and G. So Andrea doesn't have to hang out
Okay.
for that.
So you're saying following the active living safe routes to school conversation before ordinance 2020 summary application,
Yes, please.
the summary publication. All right. So that's your motion. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, move to a roll call vote. See which order everybody shows up in this today. It must be alphabetical. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Consent agenda carries as amended. All right, so we're going to move right on to our active living safe routes to school conversation. There are two conversations in this presentation, which Andrea will get to. I just want to summarize before she jumps in. First one is for the city of Grand Marais to reapply for a bike-friendly community consideration or classification. We applied in 2017, were awarded in 2018 with a silver rating. The application is included in the packet. Not much has changed from that application that we put in 2017-18, except for some of the updating for the Highway 61 project progress and Gitchigami State Trail stuff. So with that said, and then safe routes to school, Andrea can carry that away. So let's jump in. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. So Jay's summary pretty much summed up the bike-friendly community application. There have not really been any changes, at least not enough to bump us up to the next level, which would be gold. We have identified some steps that we could take to possibly bump us up to that next level, but they're more sort of long-term projects, things that will take, probably until the next application to fully put into place. So really all that I'm looking for the Bike Friendly City application is for you to approve it so I can submit it. If you have any questions about it, I can answer those. Otherwise, I just need your support because you represent the city and I can't submit it without your say so.
Guys, I'm sorry, and Andrea, I apologize. I'm trying to look at Snowmobile Club letters, be a part of the discussion. If we have this designation, is it just telling people that we're bike friendly, or do we actually what do we receive for it, if anything? I guess, I don't know if receive is quite, but what is the benefit of being a designated bike-friendly city? Maybe that's the words I'm looking for. And Jay may have said it and I missed it. I apologize.
No, that's a good question. So, aside from a formal recognition, there's not really a lot that comes from it. We get to enjoy the fact that we have such bike-friendly amenities in a bike-friendly community. There are people who look for bike-friendly cities when they're looking at possibly relocating or going on vacation, things like that. But otherwise, there's not, we don't win a bunch of money or anything. We just, it's just a designation. We do get an award or like a certificate.
Yeah, we get a pretty nifty plaque.
Yeah.
It really is an acknowledgement, and that's actually kind of good, I think, in some contexts, because it doesn't commit us to doing anything more than we're already doing. It's an acknowledgement for the things that we're already doing, the policies we already have in place, the infrastructure we've already built. And the bronze, silver, gold levels basically are just incentivizing, a statement that you can make to your community about the investment that you've made in bike-friendly infrastructure. We've made it a long way on the stuff that we already have, and the infrastructure that's already in our community. And like Andrea said, the steps to get to a gold community are pretty significant. So I don't believe that's a priority for Grand Marais, but it is something that it doesn't cost us anything to put it in, and it's a nice little feather we can hang up there that acknowledges the work that we've already done, or the work that we have in our community already going for us.
Okay, thanks, guys. I just, like I said, I'm sorry, do two things at once here. And whoever did the application, if that's you, Andrea, oh my gosh, you have my thank you. I think it's easier to get a social security number than yeah, I could not believe the length of that application. That's crazy.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it will have Mike's name on it, so we can give him all the credit in a little bit. No?
Yeah, Mike doesn't want that.
We all know. We all know.
So we can deal with this in two ways. We probably have to deal with this in two steps. So we can, if anyone has any continued questions for the bike-friendly communities application, now is a great time to ask them. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for the approval of that application, or other conversation if that's what we need to have.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what's that next level? What is that? What would that entail, Andrea?
Well, I don't have all of it in front of me, because all I have in front of me, besides the 12,000 screens I have open, is the current application. But some of I can give you, if I can open up the right screen, I can give you an idea of some of the things that I was looking at for possible next level. So I met with Bike MN to talk about our active living steering committee possibly becoming a designated Bike MN chapter, which would have its positives and negatives. So having a chapter designation in our town would be helpful. We currently don't collect any bicycle crash data or do any reviews. And after I had some communications with Will Sandstrom, they don't have a specific method to sort those out. So he was going to look into it for me. So it's something that we could look at in the future. A comprehensive bike plan would be another thing. We already have the pedestrian plan, which I think is, fairly comparable, but let's see. And then the main thing that we're sort of lacking is sort of community education. We do the Safe Routes to School program does in-school education for third graders. And we have the bike safety rodeo, but we don't have any sort of like community ed bike trainings regularly. I mean, we have sporadic classes and things like that here and there, but a regularly offered like bike mechanics class or bike commuter class or walk bike fun education for kids in the summertime, things like that. Those are, at least those are the things that I was looking at. There's a lot more, obviously, but.
And a number of the things in that database list of gold, and there is a new level, platinum, as well, that has to do with bike friendly cities, has to do with the density of the trails, of bike specific infrastructure in a city, which is something that we just literally can't get because we don't have that density. And we're not going to ever have that density, either of people or of bike infrastructure. So that's, as far as like going for a gold or a platinum rating, it wouldn't really make sense for Grand Marais because too many of the things that that we would need to do are just not within our reach for the nature of our community. So
Right. I would agree. And the sort of things that I listed off are things that, I think that we could do here, especially the education piece. I had this really great plan for community education this last summer, but obviously all of those plans were canceled. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Okay. Any other questions for Andrea about the Bike Friendly Communities application?
I got a question. Is this sponsored through is this like through the state of Minnesota? Or is this a league, or, you know what I'm saying?
It's the National Bike League.
Okay. So
League of
so
American.
the state of Minnesota is involved
yeah.
with some guidelines and those kinds of things. The state is too.
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
They break it out by states. So, in the state of Minnesota, there's what did I just looked at it. In the state of Minnesota, there's, oh wait, nope, that's across the country. Yeah, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of them. But it's a nice little thing to get acknowledgments for where your community's at. So.
All right. Thank you.
Let's see how many we got here. There's only 32 bicycle friendly communities in the state of Minnesota, by the way. There you go. So. All right. Anybody have a strong feeling about making a motion on this or continuing the conversation?
I would move to approve.
All right. So there's a motion to approve the application for bike friendly community for Grand Marais. Is there a second for that?
I'd second that.
Okay. Anton's got the second. Any further discussion on this?
So we're doing these separate, the safe routes and the bike friendly, right, guys?
Yep. Yep.
Is this application every 2 years or what?
It's every 4 years.
4 years? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, moving through the roll call vote. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Thank you, Andrea, for doing that insanely long application. And,
Thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I agree. And let's move on to Safe Routes for Schools. So you've got some really great information. It was really nice to look through all of that, the information in the packet for Safe Routes for School. I don't know how you want to break down all that information for us, but jump in.
Yeah, sure. So, well, since you have the whole packet, I mean, I'm not going to obviously go through it. It's a lot of pages. I would say that, so simply what I'm asking is for the council to approve the application, or not the application, the updated plan. Sorry. It's been a long day. Some of some of the larger things that we are working on in the updated plan is the highest priority is the fact that our school zone is not legally designated as a school zone. And now that I said that to the public, well, we all know now it's not legally designated as a school zone. So, in order to do that, I'm working with the Cook County highway engineer to get the necessary documents in place, and then the traffic studies and measurements and all of that. And then it goes to the commissioners and they approve it as a designated school zone. So the sheriff's department can actually enforce the 20-mile-an-hour zone while students are present.
Oh,
And
God.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. So through that process, it would also involve updating the signage, which is at present a little haphazard. So that's one of our major goals. And then education is sort of our second most important goal. Making sure that the in-school bike education continues, and hopefully we would like to increase that to more grades, maybe third and fourth grade, kind of just depends on the school. And we would also like to increase to the other schools in the county, besides just the two schools in Grand Marais, Great Expectations and Sawtooth Elementary is where we do that right now. And another major project we're working on is a boost grant from the state of Minnesota, which is purchased a Safe Routes to School bike fleet trailer, and it will this spring purchase and more bikes for the fleet, new helmets, and some other tools and gear that we need so we can use that Safe Routes to School bike fleet, which is presently housed at ISD 166. We can store that in the trailer so it can go more readily to the other schools. Youth programs can use it. We can have it at the bike safety rodeo. So if there are kids that don't have bikes, they would have that to use. We could use it for like community education bike classes if and when that becomes a thing. And then obviously promoting walking and biking to school in a safe manner. Yeah.
I get it 10 times.
Okay, I got it. Thanks. Which Lego arm. There you go. Which is kind of tricky here because a lot of people have to take the bus, but finding ways for kids who do have to take the bus to participate in walk to school day events and things like that. And those are sort of our highest priorities right now. That intersection at County Road 7 and 5th Avenue West has been a priority of our, is that right? 5th Avenue West and 5th Street? Yeah, let me say it that way. It sounds more correct that way. Has been a priority of our committee for pretty much the entire life of the committee, just because of the the traffic and the speed, and I think that the temporary stoplight was helpful, but that's not permanent. So trying to find ways to make that a little safer, hopefully in the future when the county works on redoing that in 2023/24. Let's see. Yeah. Those are sort of our main priorities. If you have any questions about the plan.
Andrea, are there going to be any additional requirements of the city from the previous plan in the modified version?
Nope. No. You know, a representative from the city attends our meetings in some capacity. Tim was there for a long time, and Jay was there for a long time, and Mike and Patrick still participate. So just a representative at our meetings, and then you know, if there is a program that we are working through that, you know, would require or go off better with the city's support to, you know, work with us on that. But, you know, those would all be to be determined at this point.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Andrea about the Safe Routes to School plan as it is? I know there's a lot of information in there too. I tried to, with the questions that I asked, I tried to kind of drill down to what the city's particular involvement in it would be and what our commitment would be for the Safe Routes to School plan. I think Andrea did a pretty good job of summarizing that. So we can either ask more questions and dig more into what the plan says. We can spend more time talking and looking at it, or we can make a motion to approve it and then move forward with this modified version of the plan. This is a plan that the city has approved in the past and that we have been under. And to my knowledge, Andrea, you can either nod or shake your head. The city has been in compliance with this plan as far as the Safe Routes to School Committee moving forward. So this is something we already have built into our organization relatively well. Anybody?
I'd move to approve it.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve. Great. Is there a
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Great. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Safe Routes to School plan has been adopted. Thank you very much, Andrea, for all of your work on this.
Thank you all very much.
I do believe that I'm the new representative on that. So
Yeah, I watched that at the last meeting. I watched them all. I feel like you guys are my best friends, even though we don't really know each other.
you can live vicariously through us as much as you thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. Feel free to stick around or jump off if you have to. It seems like you have Lego arms to fix. You might want to jump off.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move on with our agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Andrea.
Thanks, Andrea.
I love how we all like wave goodbye on Zoom calls because we don't do that in person, right? Or sometimes maybe we do, but
I do.
you do always wave goodbye.
Babies do.
It's true.
Thank you,
Yeah.
kids. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Anyway, so let's move right along. So we amended our agenda to include a conversation about the snowmobile path or snowmobile route from the Gunflint Trail into town. So not quite sure how to move forward with that. Sorry, I've got something in my throat. I know Mike had a conversation with a representative of the Snowmobile Club. We have this email from the Snowmobile Club that we now have here, and I have just kind of glanced through it, and it seems to me like the conversation that they're making is for the snowmobile route to remain on the north side. Mike, am I summarizing that correctly, or?
Well, I've only seen it in the past few minutes, so I'm not sure. But during our conversation we had last week, that's the position that they made for sure. And at the conversation we had last week, there wasn't a lot of time between when we sat down and chatted and when the packet was going out. So it didn't seem realistic to tell them, hey, you need to get me something in writing in the next 12 hours so that you can be on the agenda. So the plan then was anyway
for them to submit something like this and put it actually formally on the agenda as an item for discussion. But now you have it in front of you and it's on your agenda, so let's dig in.
Should we, do we want to just take a minute, just hit the pause button a minute so we can read this more thoroughly, and then we can have a more knowledgeable discussion about it, because I would rather sit and read it and get all of the context of it instead of just glancing at the bullet points and saying, "Oh, okay, I think I know what they're saying." So does that work for everybody?
Kelly, did you get the copy I sent you?
I did, thank you. Can we
Oh, go ahead.
read out loud, or does it not have to be read out loud because it was sent to all of us? We added it as an agenda item. I don't know if we read it out loud as if it came through open forum.
Go ahead, Anton.
I mean, I guess the biggest thing that I would say, I mean, I guess we could take the time to read it aloud, but the biggest points that it seems like the historical aspect of the trail being on the north side, and the fact that if it's to be switched to the south side, their groomer has 6 inches of clearance to be able to use the concrete sidewalk on the south side. And I guess my question is, I'm fine, whatever we decide. I guess maybe we should decide if we want to read it out for everybody. Does that seem like the right thing to do? I don't know how this is supposed to work. Chris, anything?
I don't think you need to read it. I mean, we'll happily just include it in the packet that we post so that people can look at it if they want to see it.
So
if you want to read it out loud just so that it's part of the conversation, you can do that too.
I mean, I feel like those 2 points are the biggest point. I guess the thing that I got out of it, and the question I have is, which I brought up at the last meeting, is when, I mean, I know that in the development of the Highway 61 plan, that the north side of the road was to be used as a multi-use trail, at least at that point of the system. And then as you move, I think, past Broadway, it switches to the south side to the multi-use, if I believe right, if I remember right. So my question is when was there a change, and when was it decided that the snowmobile trails now are supposed to go to the south side? Because I don't remember any conversation, and I've obviously missed some meetings in the past year or whatever, however long this has been discussed, but I don't remember any conversation about that. And it seems to me that even just on the longevity of what our maintenance cycle is of wear and tear, like if the system and what the people that are up here to use is the north side is multi-use, it fits their groomers, and it fits and just wear and tear. I mean, studded tracks on concrete seems like that's going to make the south side short-lived, despite, to add on to the fact that the grooming now becomes much more difficult. I guess I don't understand what the big deal is unless again, there was some conversation that I missed where there was a conversation that, oh no, now the state snowmobile trail as it comes into town is now on the south side of the road. And if anybody has any insight on when that conversation happened, that's great, but I don't remember it. So
I seem to remember having conversations about with the safe routes to school conversation, and I think with the Highway 61 steering committee about that, but I couldn't point you at any specific minutes for it. So that conversation, was I don't know, maybe Mike, you have some better ideas about when and where those conversations happened. But I would have to do some digging to find out where those conversations actually happened. But I would dare say that it would have been in one of those two groups. I
mean, again, I'll chime in and I'll listen too, but I guess to me, thinking of like what we have for snow removal and what we can do. I mean, if we have an entity that's willing to maintain, granted it's in a groomed, fashion, not cleared to pavement on one side, we're not doubling the work that the city now needs to do. We just are going to take, I believe, probably the new little piece of equipment that we have to be able to do the south side and continue that through. One thing I've noticed is the the Aspen Lodge and I forget the little motel place that's shut down in the wintertime, but there's berms along those, so that the walkability of that is kind of all this conversation we had leading up to what this project was going to be. To me, it seems like the simplest solution is that we let the north side go back to being maintained by the snowmobile club and grooming, and that the south side gets plowed. And again, because of, that means south side and then those bump outs so that we have people can cross where they're supposed to cross. I don't see it being like, okay, now we got double the amount of work because we need to clear the north side and the south side. We just maintain the normal sidewalk width on the south side of the road, and the accesses at the intersections or at the bump outs so people can access businesses on the south side. That's my 2 cents, and I'm happy to listen to what everybody else says, especially because I don't feel like I think it's sketchy already, like having to cross the snowmobiles, having to cross the Gunflint Trail right at the stop sign there. But at least they're crossing to stop traffic unless there's turning traffic happening. I feel like the idea of crossing the highway there is just like one more thing that you'd have to maybe consider. So anyway.
I guess I'm in support of what you're saying, Anton, as well. I think I probably showed that 2 weeks ago in our conversation as it came up. Their letter, for what I could quickly read through, like Anton stated, I pointed out last week or 2 weeks ago as well, I have an issue with asking people to move through a 40-mile-an-hour zone versus a 30 and then getting within the city. I know we had discussion 2 weeks ago about people that want to use the north side for walking, although in the last several years, I haven't seen any letters to us. I have not received any phone calls or emails about it. That's not to say no one else has. Where I see the most issue, and I could be wrong, might be if people want to use the area getting to the post office. There is the multi-use area going past, of course, Johnson's Big Dollar, but I feel like, and Craig may know, most snowmobiles, really truthfully, that I've ever encountered come over to Mangy Moose and cross over at that point to SA or to the hotels. In the evening, I would see them parking sometimes in our lot across from the city and then walking to establishments to go and eat, not necessarily taking their snowmobiles throughout downtown. So I feel that we're looking out for the safety of all individuals by leaving it to the north side. People are following what they're used to for 15 years. I'm hoping that we want to stay all-inclusive, that we're designating things as we did tonight. We're looking at safe routes. We're looking at being a bike city, but we also know that snowmobilers come here and they support our winter businesses as well with our hotels, our restaurants, our city liquor store, our gas stations. So looking out for them as well and the businesses that they support, along with the fact that, the snowmobile club should be included in these conversations. And that's where I hope that we can move things to, in our communications, that we do a little better and include the people who it really truly affects. That at least for this year, at a minimum, it should maintain on the north. And if we were to move it, then we need to have a discussion with them and include them in it. But my recommendation is to keep it on the north side on the multi-use trail.
So for me as well, I feel like we actually find ourselves in a reasonable place here because we do have infrastructure now on both sides of the road, which puts us in a better place than we were in the past. In the past we didn't have infrastructure on the south side of the road, so it wasn't even a conversation about putting snowmobiles there or pedestrians there at all. I do see the possibility of some trouble or conflict, like maybe not the best possible solution for pedestrians being on the south side just because of the crossing to get over to the businesses on the north side, and the other things that are on the north side. But I also think we're, we have to trust that the snowmobile club, what they wrote us in that email is they make a pretty good case for, they're not going to go and buy a new groomer that's 12 inches narrower so that they can maneuver it more easily through that area. So, there's a prioritization here, I think, and there's also a, there's got to be some kind of a compromise about how we can make sure that all the user groups get what they need. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to proceed with that. I do think that it makes sense for us to give some kind of an inclination as far as how we should proceed for this winter. Definitely at this meeting, because if it snows a ton before the next meeting, then we're going to have to make sure that this is understood. So.
Jay, I would be willing to make a motion that at least for the remaining part of 2021 snowmobile season, hopefully by the end of April, if we get any snow, that we leave the snowmobile path to the north side on the multi-use, and city staff then can groom and clear the south side sidewalks for pedestrian traffic.
Okay, I mean that's a motion right there. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
Kelly, would you be willing to amend to include clearing bump out so people can cross?
For our city staff you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, we can add that. We can amend and add that in, that they would clear the sidewalks and the bump outs.
Okay. Michael's nodding. I don't know if we have to do an motion, but.
Well, I mean, if she modifies her motion, I can ask Michael if he agrees to continue to second it. He was nodding, so I figured I didn't have to say that out loud.
Genius idea, Anton.
Yeah. So, any further discussion on this? I do think that it would, I mean, I really appreciate that the Snowmobile Club got back to us with a letter that explained their position on it. I do think that we should have a continued conversation about this with them, if not just to improve signage and communication about where everything goes. So that I would hope that we could connect with the Snowmobile Club about that and get some progress made in that way as well.
And Jay, if I might, I think one of the things that came up in our discussion last time was the snowmobiles crossing from north to south.
Yeah.
Getting up there by SA, and we don't have any real good signage there, do we? To let them know that that's where they should cross. Or I think that, I mean, it'd be good to have something just so they know, like, this is a good place. And then cars would have an expectation as well that, oh, there might be a snowmobile crossing. So just something for further conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I do think that that's a different conversation with the club about signage and such. We did have a conversation with them about signage. Boy, what year is it right now? It's 2021. That was probably in 2015. And it, it's a hard conversation because the land rights for putting that stuff up, like putting the signs up, falls into numerous jurisdictions. So sometimes it's easier just to have it be word of mouth for the Snowmobile Club, to get a good result out of it. But I agree, Michael. I think that's probably a conversation we should start up again about how we can have the signage more formalized. Any further discussion on this?
Michael, were you thinking about the signs there, like the signs on the Gunflint Trail as you're heading up the hill that talk about a snowmobile crossing, is like actual traffic signs? Is that what you were thinking about?
Yeah, something along those lines, yeah.
Is that something the council wants me to talk to MnDOT about?
I think it would be, I mean, it's in their right of way, and if they're willing to work with us, we can't be the only city in the state. So I think if it means that it's safer for the snowmobilers and for the traffic on Highway 61, so that's everybody, that would be fantastic.
So I think that can be interpreted as a let's talk to MnDOT and see what they have to say kind of thing. Or request that, I guess. Okay, cool. So we still have a motion and a second here for the designation of the north side of the highway as the corridor through April with the plowing of the south side for pedestrians along with the bump outs and crosswalks. So any further commentary on this? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. So I think that we've got that one settled for this winter, I think. I do think that we definitely need to continue that conversation. So so thank you for the conversation, everyone. We'll move along now. All right, let me find the right page here. I've got to make my way through the hundreds of pages of safe routes to school stuff. All right, here we go. So the next thing on our agenda is the summary publication for Ordinance 2020-02. So a summary of what this is, just so that we all know what we're talking about, is this is what's going to go in the paper, because we have to actually publish changes in ordinance in our designated newspaper, which is the Cook County News Herald, as we decided at our last meeting. So instead of publishing the entire ordinance, which would be, I don't know, Mike, how many pages is it? Like 75 pages or something like that? It's a lot of pages.
It's just under 40, but still it'd be a lot of newspaper.
It'd be a lot of newspaper, and it would be super duper expensive. And legally, we are allowed to publish a summary, which basically says, hey, this is what is changed. And if you want to get more information about this, this is how you get it. And so the summary publication that we have is included in the memo. It basically lists all the different areas of the ordinance that were changed, and items that were added in, such as the cottage courtyard developments, row houses, townhouses, dimensional standards for height setbacks, etc. And then it says that the complete ordinance can be obtained at City Hall, in print if necessary, and it's on the website. So basically all we have to do is we have to take a look at this. Do we feel comfortable that this is a good way of publishing in the newspaper the fact that we changed the ordinance and directing people to the complete text if that's what they're looking for? And if it is, then we can approve this as a summary, and then we're good. So, and if not, we have to figure out what we are going to publish.
I did feel like it worked, that it really did, hit the highlights and pointed people in the direction they would need to go if they were interested in more detail. But I felt like it was right in there. So I would move to approve that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the summary publication. Is there a second for that motion?
I will second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? When I first saw this, I was concerned that it was too brief, like that it didn't say enough. But then I realized that this is what goes in the newspaper, basically to just tell people, hey, there was a change, and if you want to know more about it, this is where you find it. And in that context, I think it works. It definitely lists the different things that were changed, and where people can find more information about it if those are things they need to know more about. So
Is our
And-
newly accepted modification update now on our city website so people could find it if they want to go look there right now?
yep, it is.
Awesome. Then I'm fully in support of this.
Okay, Michael?
Right, and I just wanted to follow on. Yeah, and we have had lots of conversations about this too, and we've given lots of opportunities for people to come and discuss and ask questions and that kind of thing. So I do feel like it's had a thorough thrashing out there in the public. So I feel like people who care are aware.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on this motion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Motion carries. So that, Mike, do you know when that'll be appearing in the paper? Probably in a couple weeks or so.
Probably next week.
Probably next week.
Yeah, their deadline's yesterday, so I assume it won't be this week, but probably next week.
Okay, sounds good. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is board appointments. So we got another application for a board position. So this is the Planning and Zoning Commission. Hooray! Benjamin Peters, resident of the community for, he says, around 15 years, is interested in one of the open positions on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I open that up for discussion or motion to approve.
I will motion to approve Ben for the planning and zoning, and this is a 3-year term, correct?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I want to thank Ben for putting his name in there.
So we will have enough, we have members now that we could have a meeting in February?
Their regular scheduled meeting would actually be next Wednesday. There is no public hearing scheduled for next Wednesday. So the next course of business that they might take up, other than an application to consider, would be to talk about what their policy agenda is that they want to work on. And you still have one more opening. So I would say they probably won't schedule a meeting next week, and their next meeting will be in March.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussions on this board appointment? If not, move to the roll call vote. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. The appointment is confirmed. So thank you, Ben. We look forward to having you on the Planning and Zoning Commission. All right. So that concludes our agenda item work. So now we move on to council and staff reports. So we'll just move down the list for that too. Anton, do you have any update?
I don't have any update. I got, except for that I got Commissioner David Mills sent me a email like 1 minute before the Parks and Trails meeting. I never got an agenda or an email, so I asked him to please let them know to keep me in the loop, because I was on my way home. I couldn't make it happen, so I'd like to be involved in those. It sounds like the next one, he did send me some info for the next one, but it sounds like we got a month or two until the next one. So anyway, and then I don't know if Michael could maybe answer if, as long as he AEOA has gotten a hold of him. I keep getting a lot of stuff from them. Not AEOA. Yeah.
The ARDC.
ARDC, sorry.
Yeah, I did go to the meeting and I have gotten stuff.
Good job. Okay. Well, I will just block that then, now knowing you're getting everything.
Yeah.
Cool. Kelly, any update?
I do. I have lots of stuff tonight, actually.
Nice.
Well, lengthy, but stuff. The YMCA actually had a meeting, I want to say last week. Again, the advisory council kind of trying to get things back and going. I got the notification late and it was at 4 o'clock. I was at work. I joined by phone for a little bit. They are working to get a few more members on. Stacy Hawkins has joined as the county commissioner serving on that board. So we are getting back together again. So that's good news. Right before I jumped on tonight in my email, I see that the North Shore Management Board is going to meet Tuesday, February 23rd. Yay! I can attend by Zoom. So we'll see how this goes. At least I get in one. I feel like I'm going in like a blind person, not knowing much, but at least I can attend that one, I believe, for now. The other thing, Parks and Trails. I was on the very small committee that did the advisory to the county board, offering up short-term and long-term discussion points. I will go to the short-term where I offered up. What we kind of talked about short-term was if things stayed somewhat status quo, that it's open to the public can attend the beach, that we look together, city, county, how we can maybe provide a porta potty there for people, that there would be waste receptacles there, that we might provide a doggy bag station for people who would be there with their pets. That was some of the things we talked about short term. I did not get to attend Tuesday's meeting. They started right at 5 and I am not home at that time, but I know that they were going to, it sounded like they probably were going to recommend putting together a larger community group to go through and discuss more about how we want to proceed and forward long-term. So I expect some things to come out of that. It did say they were looking for a city representative. Now, whether they meant a city council representative, which I'd still be interested, but Anton, you're already on Parks and Trails, so that would make more sense. But I think there'll be information coming out of that. So I don't know what happened from Tuesday night's meeting, but we had done our get-together, making our thoughts known to them, and now we'll see how they move forward. Because again, they have to go back and work with MnDOT on the piece of property that could potentially be placed for sale if things are not moved forward on our end. So we'll see where they get from that. The one last thing that I wanted to do is I have a brief letter I would like to read addressing the climate of our community, period. And so I just want to reach out. Fellow councilors, city staff, and citizens, I want to make clear my intentions as a council member for our community. I will be a member of a decision-making body that listens to all with respect and kindness. I will be honest and trustworthy of all those I encounter and have interactions with. I want to work together towards being an all-inclusive community who will listen to differences and to seek to find common ground, knowing that together our differences can not only make us better, but stronger. I will lead with integrity, honesty, openness, and grace. I invite you to engage with me in this undertaking, and I welcome our conversations. I ask that we look to an individual's heart and their intentions through their words and actions before judging what we may not know. That we can open up a conversation seeking to understand, then to be understood. There will be times when I don't get it right, and I hope you will allow me a chance to correct and set the ship straight again. I ask and I encourage that we all seek to be better today than we were yesterday, and individually demonstrate how to be the good in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that you took the time to put that all down in words and to communicate that intentionally like that. think that's meaningful. Great. So that's I'm assuming that's your report.
Yep, I'm done.
Okay. I just
Thanks.
wanted to make sure that I didn't cut you off if you had something else. All right, Michael, your report.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. That was awesome. Really appreciate that. So I just had the one meeting of the ARDC, and it sounds like things are going well. I don't know if that's always how they are, Anton, but in terms of like the revolving loan fund, that's really solid right now. They've been able to push out a lot of dollars into our community, and a few businesses here have taken advantage of that. I was glad to see that. Yeah, so that was it was a lot of time, but it was a lot of information to learn and listen to, and I was just so happy that things are going so well, and that there are funds there for our local businesses. And I want to make sure, I was going to reach out and see if we can make sure that everybody knows that those dollars or those businesses know that those dollars are there. I mean, I assume they do, but I'd like to make sure that is getting out there. So that was it. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Greg, your report.
I don't have anything from the park board. We have a meeting next week.
All right, sounds good.
Yep.
The only update that I have is from the meeting that was formerly called the Joint Powers meeting, and that meeting, yeah, Michael was there for that meeting as well. So that there were three things I'd like to bring you all up to speed on that we talked about at that meeting. The first one was we discussed at some length the HRA conversation about the development of a housing and redevelopment authority in the county. You know, there were members of the county board there. There were members of the city council there. Michael and I were there. We had members of the hospital board and hospital administration, the school board and school administration, and we had members of the Grand Portage Tribal Council in commissioner or council person. No, what's it? Chairman Deschamps. I got to get to the right terminology here. And we had some really great conversations. The HRA discussion basically was that, hey, this, you know, there was a lot of understanding what this actually could do for the community and what it means. But then also that, hey, those things sound like they would be really, really useful for our community to help achieve our goals as far as housing is concerned. Of course, this is not a decision-making body, so no decisions were made on that front. But it was good to see that all of those different agencies had a, you know, they understood, and they understood that this would be a beneficial thing. One of the other things that they talked about was, hey, we probably shouldn't call that group a joint powers meeting, because we've never signed a joint powers agreement with all of those different organizations. And Chairman Deschamps said pretty clearly, it was like, you know, Grand Portage doesn't really sign joint powers agreements. So that was pretty clear that we should probably change what we call it, just so that we all know why we're showing up. And so that meeting will be called, I think we decided elected, you know, local elected officials meeting or something like that. I can't remember exactly what the terminology was that we ended on, but that was the gist of it, was that it was like, this is local elected boards in the county, so that we can all work on projects together. And then the final thing that we spent a considerable amount of time on was talking about the concept of equity and of a native land acknowledgement. So this joint powers group, you know, elected official group, had been revitalized in the past year to discuss the possibility of making a native land acknowledgement that all of these different organizations could participate in. Since then, the county has approved the use of one. The school board has drafted one. I'm not certain that they actually have approved it. And I've done a significant amount of work researching and drafting native land acknowledgements, but I haven't brought that to the council because it always seemed to me that we're missing a piece to it. And I really appreciated Rena Rogers brought this up in the conversation with the elected officials group, saying that, hey, why are we doing this? Like, what's the purpose of a native land acknowledgement? Is it something that we are committing to changing our policies for? And Chairman Deschamps also brought up a really poignant thought that says, like, hey, you say these things, and when he was on the county board, you'd say these things and then everybody'd be looking at him. And he's like, this isn't for me. Like, this is like, are you saying that the next time you do a land swap, that you're going to be offering this land to Grand Portage first, or you're going to be considering the 1854 tribal rights that they have to these lands? And that was really important, I think, to clarify that any statement that we make needs to take the 1854 treaty rights into consideration. And so that, I just, every time I'm in a meeting with Chairman Deschamps, I really appreciate the insight that he brings to it. And because it's not an insight that I share, it's not something that I haven't seen it from his side of the story. And I really hope that at some point we as a council can take on a conversation about a native land acknowledgement for the city of Grand Marais, considering the history that we have with Chippewa City, with the old road, with all of the different settlements that were here before Grand Marais was incorporated. I really look forward to that day, and I think it's going to be a very complicated conversation. So that is the summary of that meeting that I took away. I don't know, Michael, if there's anything else that you took away from that meeting that I missed, but that was what I got from it.
Yeah, it was just interesting to get to the point of like, oh yeah, we have no power. This is just, we're agreeing to these things. But it was also really heartening to observe all the different groups, taking the time to work together, even if there wasn't an official, reason why we had to do it. We're doing it because we care about our community and we're here to try and solve some of our common problems. So I really enjoyed that. But otherwise, no, I think you got it. The HRA, though, that was really great. I think that's really something that's going to take all of us to make happen in an appropriate way. So
cool. Yeah, and it was really nice to see folks from the different agencies and the different elected boards asking each other questions and pulling on each other's expertises. So that was really, I think that's probably one of the more valuable things that we can get out of meetings like that. That's all I have. Mike, Kim, Patrick, do you have anything to update? I see lots of shaking heads. All right, that concludes our business for the evening. Thank you so much for the conversation and for the work. And since we have completed our work, we are adjourned.